Today, I'm talking to Thomas Wright, an owner and operator of the largest Sotheby's International Realty affiliate in the world. In 2008, Thomas stepped in as the managing partner of Summit Sotheby's International Realty, which shortly after became the top brokerage in Park City Resort Community and the leading brokerage in Utah. Today, he, together with his business partner, also owns and operates Sierra Sotheby's International Realty, which serves Lake Tahoe and Reno in Nevada, Synergy Sotheby's International Realty in Las Vegas, Pacific Sotheby's International Realty in Palm Springs, and Live Sotheby's International Realty in Colorado. With 850 sales associates and 175 support staff associates, in this last year alone, 2020, the combined companies closed over $9 billion in transaction volume. In our interview today, we break it all down. I ask him, how do you do it all? You own and run multiple brokerages, recruit, run them, and elevate everyone to the top. And by the way, he still sells real estate. He brings it back to the basics. We talk about what to focus on, what to do, how to do it. We talk about how to make small shifts for substantial change. Thanks for listening to the Jerry Metcalf podcast, where top real estate agents tell how they do it. This podcast was created for real estate agents across the country to come together, sharing ideas to take your, their, and our business to the next level. All right, everybody, it's the Jerry Metcalf podcast, where top real estate agents tell how they do it. And today we have on the show, one of our first guests is back. I think we're at like 300 something episodes later, Thomas Wright. Thomas with Summit Sotheby's, thanks for coming on the show.
I'm stoked to be here. It's been a while and I've been looking forward to it.
Well, good to have you. So the last time we interviewed, we did talk about listings, but we may touch on that a little bit again today. But first, give us a big summary of who you are so everybody who doesn't know who you are, which isn't many people, can remember or know.
Well, yeah, I live in Utah. I'm the president of Summit Sotheby's International Realty, which covers all the state of Utah. And then with my partner, Scott Weber, I help operate Live Sotheby's International Realty in Colorado, Sierra Sotheby's International Realty in Lake Tahoe, Synergy Sotheby's International Realty in Southern Nevada, mostly Las Vegas, and Pacific Sotheby's International Realty, but only in the Coachella Valley, Palm Desert, Palm Springs, Rancho Mirage, La Quinta. And then, the Pacific on the coast is different ownership and different management. So together we have 5 affiliates, big companies, and really enjoyed being with the Sotheby's International Realty brand, getting to know all these top agents who represent the brand so well, and just going for it in all these markets. It's been really fun. It's been a fun run. I got involved in Sotheby's International Realty in 2008. So I'm going on 13 years, and it's been a great ride.
Awesome. So first of all, the last time we spoke, you had one affiliate or one office, and now you have gone across 5, well, not more than 5 markets, but 5 affiliates.
Yeah, 5 different affiliates. Combined, the sales volume now is 12 billion in 2020, which is pretty significant. But why we talk about the volume and we track our success that way, 12,000 transaction sites, we prefer much more to talk about a couple other things. One is our definition of luxury. And our definition of luxury is that luxury is a customer service experience, and anybody can have it at any price point, regardless of what area their property is in. Too often we think luxury real estate is determined by the price point, but I know a lot of agents at other brokerage firms that don't provide a very luxury experience for their clients. And then I know agents at $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 that provide an incredible luxury experience for their clients. So for us, it's never a price point, and it's not a location, it's a state of mind. It's the way we interact with our clients. It's everything from how we approach the first interaction to how we market their properties, to how well we communicate. How expert are we at selling? Do we have the proper negotiation skills? Are our ethics there? Do we understand how to get a transaction done with difficult agents on the other side? There's so much involved in giving a client a luxury real estate experience. And every day we strive to make sure that happens in all the markets in which we do business, regardless of the price point or the area.
I love that. So let's talk a little bit about you and how you came to where you are now. And then we're going to touch on what is the luxury experience, like, what does that really mean? But tell us, first of all, why did you get into business? How did you get into business, real estate, when you became an agent? Now you're a partner of 5 affiliates doing 12 billion in sales and 12,000 transactions.
Yeah, so I got involved in real estate in about the year 2000. I became a licensee, and I've always loved sales. I feel like sales always kind of had a stigma attached to it, but I sought it out. I like to sell. I like the interaction with people. I like the competitive nature of it, and I also like the independence. I liked the ability to have no ceiling on income. The harder I worked, the more effective I was, the better that I could do. I liked that approach. I like kind of the risk of it. I admire people that are on commission only. They go out every day and put their neck on the line, and they only, eat what they kill, so to speak. And I admired that about salespeople, and that's just where I migrated. I always loved the sales and marketing elements of a business. And so for me, real estate was a natural fit, and I loved it. And I was a sales agent for many years. I loved selling real estate. I
What
did. I
year?
really
What
enjoyed it.
year?
It was really good to me.
So
And
you
so
started, yeah. What year did you start?
about the year 2000. And
Okay.
so, and that was when I
Yeah.
first became licensed in the state of Utah. And then, I migrated into, after being a top agent, I migrated into the ownership and the management and the leadership of brokerages. I felt like I had some skills and some attributes that would be good in that role. And I wanted to utilize those talents that I had been given. So I migrated into that and I still sell, but I also at the same time own and operate and lead these companies. And I love that part of the business. I've learned a lot about myself, about the industry, about the business. And I've also met a lot of people while simultaneously still being involved in the trenches on the sales side. I love it. I would
So,
never get away from it.
so here's what everybody really wants to know. Okay, so you got in 2000, and now you're owning and selling and recruiting, and you're juggling all these balls, and you're still a top agent, and you're still a top owner, basically. How do you do all of that and still be good at all of that?
Yeah, you got to be careful. I mean, you just have to make sure you pick your spots, right? I can't sell as much as I used to, but I can certainly sell a lot. And I just have to be honest about the time constraints I have and make sure that I'm not overextending myself on the sales side. That's number one. And then number two, I have to fulfill the obligations that I have as an owner and a leader and a principal broker and a president of some of these companies to make sure that I'm fulfilling the commitments that I make. And look, I take that really seriously. I've recruited hundreds of agents, and I've made a lot of commitments to them about what I'll do, about what the brokerage firm will do to support them. And I take that really seriously. So I have great support staff. I have a great leadership team, and I do a good job of time blocking. I don't waste a lot of time. I can't afford to. And so I block out time and I make sure that I get my things done. I don't get overextended and I fulfill my commitments. And so far it's worked out great. It gets harder and harder as the years go by and things grow, but it's
Right.
just a new challenge every day. And I'm up for that.
So it sounds like the key is having the right people to do the right things, making sure you allocate time to everything, and you're consistent in you protect your time. If I'm going to
Yeah.
do this, it's going to be this long. It's going to be what gets done, and we're moving to the next thing and completing that, and it's the compound effect of your actions.
Yeah. I've often said, Jerry, that the greatest challenge to attaining excellence, it's not mediocrity. I hear that a lot and I read it a lot in different business books. I think for me, it's about distraction. There are so many distractions that keep people from being their best
Mm.
self and achieving excellence. And I found that time blocking and really strictly managing my schedule and my calendar gives me a better work-life balance. And it allows me to ensure that I get things done and that I'm effective. And because if I don't have enough time, then I've got you, like you said, you got to find good people that can help you get those things done, and then you can oversee them and you can spend less time doing them while still simultaneously fulfilling your commitments. So I think the distractions are the problems. I see so many agents in our industry that have so much talent, but they're distracted by social media or their phones or by ways they did business 10 or 15 years ago. There's better way to do it, but they can't get away from the distractions long enough to focus on what will really work. And so I
Yeah.
try every day to discipline myself to not get distracted from what I'm really trying to accomplish.
So I mean, basically, it's like control, distraction. Okay, we're done. Podcast over. But really, like, just control your distraction. But in controlling your distraction, that also means controlling what you focus on. A lot of people, especially in our industry where ADD is kind of like a natural part of what you are and what comes with it, or we say that, we jokingly, but kind of true. And in that personality, it's, well, if I'm too focused or too controlled, I'm going to miss these opportunities. But if you're jumping on these opportunities, you're not going to ever get anything complete. So how do you control your distraction and make sure you focus? What do you know are the best things to focus on and how?
I think you hit on something really important. You have to be agile and you have to be athletic and adaptable. I don't time
Mm.
block and have such a rigid, disciplined schedule that I can't roll with the punches or I can't seize opportunities when they arise. But I think you have to wake up every day and realize that time's really short and
Yeah.
you don't have a lot of time in a given day. And we don't have a lot of time in a given week. And doesn't it seem, Jerry, that the years just fly by? I mean, we
And the
don't have a
older
lot of
you
time.
get, a
Yeah,
day is like 5 minutes. Like, what is up with that? I
right.
used to hear that, and then it's actually true. Yeah.
And I know people go years with good intentions, like I'm going to organize my sphere of influence, I'm going to organize my database, I'm going to do this, and then 5, 10 years later they wake up and it still hasn't happened, and that's because they're addicted to distraction. They're not addicted to the business philosophy that activity doesn't equal productivity. They're two different things. You can be really active and you can work really hard and not be productive. You got to focus on the things that make you productive and not get distracted and focus on the activity. I mean, look, I could sit at my desk all day in my inbox and just answer emails all day, but that would make me very unproductive. I know I have to do it and I do it and I time block it and I make sure I respond, but I'm not going to let that black hole suck me in to the point where all I do is become somebody who sits at a desk and responds to emails. There's other more important things for me to do to be productive. So I think it's really about analyzing your schedule and saying to yourself, how much time do I spend really on the productive parts of the business? And I would say to an agent that's struggling in this regard, or an owner or anybody, if you're spending 20% of your time being productive, you're probably at the high end of the range. Most people aren't even breaking 5%, in my opinion, of really, truly productive activities. I'm not
So
talking about the maintenance, the stuff we have to do. There are
if
things we have to do that are not productive, and we all have to do it. I'm talking about the really productive activities that are going to grow our business, make us better at what we do, improve customer satisfaction. How much time are we going to spend on those? And why don't we do those first and the distractions second, instead of doing the distractive stuff first and then pushing the productive stuff off for years and years and actually never getting it done?
when your agents and your, for everybody who doesn't know, Thomas, obviously, every time you speak, you fill whatever size room they choose for Thomas. It's full, and then people are still standing outside and like peeking in and pushing one another over to hear what he has to say. And you recruit agents like nobody. I mean, you will come into an office where an office might be dying, and suddenly you're just recruiting agents, and they're attracted to you and to your offices and what you have to offer and do. In saying that, when you're recruiting agents, training agents, talking to agents, how do you help them? Because obviously your insights and wisdom make a difference. How do you direct them into, here's the few things you need to focus, and are they the same for everybody? Are they different for everybody? How do they know what they are?
Well, I think that's a really good question, Jerry. I approach this business as a partnership. And I say, when I approach an agent first, I view it as a two-way interview. And it's not like anything other than, hey, are we a good fit for each other? Do you view the investment you're going to make in the brokerage firm that I operate as an investment, or do you view the split as an expense? If they view as an expense and I'm more expensive, then I'm going to have a hard time connecting with them. I don't view the split as an agent or as an owner or an operator as an expense. I view it as an investment. And then the only question then is what is the ROI on that investment? And that requires us as operators to earn the right to keep people in our brokerage firm. So then it gets to the next step of the partnership. What services do I offer that will help an agent increase their revenue? And mostly their revenue per hour. How do we help people make more per hour by having better customer satisfaction and helping them spend their time more wisely? Because as we've already pointed out, time is so finite. I can't create more time for people, but I can help them be more effective with the time they already have, whether it's by systems that I've set up in my brokerages, helping them adopt technology that will help them be more effective. And so then it becomes about business planning. And I do sit down with all of the people at Summit Sotheby's, and we do business planning every year. It takes me almost 2 to 3 full months of my time. That's productive, right?
Right.
That's productive time, helping my agents business plan And it is one-on-one. And to answer your question, it's very custom. It isn't a one size fits all. Some people want to do it in very different ways than other people. So you have to know them. You have to know what their strengths are, what their weaknesses are. You have to know what's going to help them be effective. And they have to come to the table in a really honest light and say, I want to improve, and here's how I want to do it. And then you can lay a plan out, you can hold them accountable, and you can help mentor them and coach them. And it's really a spectacular thing in a brokerage when the leadership is connected to the sales force in that way. It's truly a partnership, and everybody's helping each other do better than they would on their own. That's what it's all about for me. It's not about, recruiting an agent because I want to get them from my competitor or I want the business to grow. I want to find people who want to be the very best and think that they can be their very best if they're in a brokerage firm with me or with my team, because they see the opportunity to improve their skills, to improve their income, to improve their customer satisfaction, to improve their work-life balance, and to just be more fulfilled and more happy. And that's different for everybody. I mean, I have people that just love to work all the time. So, okay, let's talk about how you can be the most effective if that's what you want to do with your life.
Yeah.
Then I have people that love to ski, like they're never going to miss a powder day, right? And then I have people that are very family oriented and they want to spend a lot of time with their family. Okay, so how are we going to build a business plan that's going to allow them that work-life balance and create a really strong boundary so that their business doesn't spill over into their family and disrupt what's most important to them? So really, at the end of the day, Jerry, for me, it starts with the why. Why are we in this business? And I ask agents that all the time, and it's a really hard question for most people to answer. What is the why? Not the why that you were told, not the why that you're supposed to say, not the why that you thought was the why, but really like stopping and having a silent period to identify, why are we in this business? And when you know what the why is, everything else gets so much easier, and no two whys are the same. I mean, they're really not.
So why are you in this business?
Oh, it's a good question. And I've thought a lot about it. I have a bunch of reasons. Number one is I love helping people achieve their real estate, their real estate commitments, and doing it at a really high level. I really believe that properties don't sell for a fixed price. I believe properties sell within a range of value based on the marketing and the exposure and the experience and the expertise of the person that they hire. And so I believe I make a difference in the outcome for my clients. As an owner and operator, I believe in helping people achieve their potential. And there are a lot of people out there with a ton of talent, but they haven't harnessed it to the fullest capacity. And I'm not perfect, and I'm not the only person that can bring that out in them. But I've gotten good at coaching and mentoring and simplifying systems and pragmatically training people to be better and more effective. And I really enjoy that. So that's why I'm an owner and operator. And then on the sales side, that's why I sell, because I think I make a difference for my clients. I think they get more, and I think they do better when they hire me.
So we talked before. Well, your whys are make a difference, help others, and enjoy what you do while you're here on this planet. We talked before the interview about the basics. You said, it's really important. It's really just like stick to the basics.
Yeah.
What are the basics?
Yeah, I really do believe in this. And the theme in all of our brokerages this year, we start our sales meeting every week in all of our brokerages with the same theme. And last year, the theme was don't confuse activity with productivity. So we've already talked about that. This year, the theme is focus on the fundamentals. And there's 3 adjectives that I emphasize when we talk about focusing on the fundamentals. One is hustle. That is show up, be ready, be hungry. That's the only thing you can really control in life. Showing up, being present, wanting it, not being scared of it, going after it. Hustle is kind of the first adjective. And it's really, like I said, the only thing that we can control. The second is grind. And grind can be like a negative word, like grind it out in a negative sense. But to me, it's a really positive word. Grinding to me means doing the same things every day, the fundamentals, contacting your sphere of influence, following up on showings, communicating showing feedback, being a great listing agent, advertising people's property, being present for showings. That day in routine can get old, but grinding is loving it every single day, waking up with the same energy you had the first day you ever did it and loving it that much every single day. That's my definition of grind. And then the last one is execute. And execute is a really important verb because too many people are good at talking about it and they're not really good at doing it. And I made a commitment to myself many years ago that I was going to be good at doing it and not talking about it. There's so many people in our industry, Jerry, that
Like,
are great
Thomas, you're
talkers,
good at
but they're
talking
not
about
good
it.
doers. And it's one of the reasons our
Right.
industry
So,
is at
yeah,
the bottom of the respect rankings.
right.
We've got to be good. We've got to be better at executing and doing. When we promise clients we're going to do something, we need to do it. So I love that word execute. It just means, you know what, don't confuse activity with productivity. Do what you say you're going to do and wake up and get it done. And so that for me is focusing on the fundamentals. And what we've seen
Right.
is that when you do those three things and you put in the right
All grind
work
and
ethic,
yeah,
yeah, when you put in the right work ethic and you do it consistently over a period of time, if you're doing the right things, success is inevitable. There is no other outcome. It's not based on luck or chance or circumstance. Sometimes it takes a little longer because of circumstances. Sometimes one person's God-given abilities are a little better than others. So sometimes the timeline is different. But if you do the right things and you do them long enough, there is no other outcome other than success.
right.
So that's why I love the fundamentals, because you know if you do the right things, whether you're an owner, you're a broker, you're an agent, if you do the right things, you will get the result you want. Sometimes it doesn't come immediately, but you will get it.
I think there's something important about what you said. I'm going to repeat what you said and then elaborate. You
Yeah.
said hustle, grind, execute, and I wrote inspired habits and do. That's my, but hustle with, be hungry, be inspired, grind, do what you got to do, have
Yep.
habits, and like really do. If you say you're going to do something, do it, execute on it.
Yeah.
On that, you were talking about, different people kind of assume I'm just doomed to failure. Different people have different circumstances, different people have different everything. Some people take longer, some people take less time. And adding to that, I've had a lot of conversations lately where people just convince themselves that their circumstances are the reason or excuse, but reason in their minds, not excuse for failure. And really, sometimes the very thing that you think is the wall or what's keeping you, the resistance to your success, is the path to your success.
Mhm.
Just keeping your mind open to that, especially when you're willing to hustle, grind, and execute.
Yeah. And look, I mean, if you hustle and you grind and you execute, but you're not doing the right things or you lack the right training, then
Mhm.
you could be doing those things somewhat in vain. And that's where I love being an operator and helping agents make sure that the people that want to work hard, that want to hustle, grind, and execute are doing the right things when they're doing that so that they can gain success. I've seen a lot of agents that do those three things, but they're not quite doing the right concepts. They don't have the right recipe. So they're not
Which
getting
is
the right outcome.
which is so reassuring because some people back again think it's something out here when it's really just what you're doing to create the outcome. We just had an interview, extreme ownership. What are you doing to create the outcome?
Yeah. You need
And
to
make sure you know what the right things to do for people like Thomas Wright,
yeah,
the
it's
Jerry Metcalf podcast. So
right. And Jerry, I love this quote that you just reminded me of because I mean, you always inspire me when I talk to you. And that is Brian Buffini said something like this, and I hate to misquote somebody, but he basically said, under pressure, we don't rise to the occasion. We sink to the level of our training. Think
oh
about that for a second. We're not going to, so if we go to a listing presentation, we're not going to
wow.
magically know everything all of a
Yeah.
sudden because we rose to the occasion. Like it's not something that just happens. I love this quote. He says, you're not going to rise to the occasion. In other words, you're not going to know things that you didn't know before suddenly because you needed them. You're going to sink to the level of your training. So if we raise the bar on training and we get people to a higher level, then under pressure, they're not going to sink to the old level. They're going to sink to the level of their training, which is going to be an elevated level, and they're going to win more. And so then it just comes down to the one thing that matters most, and that is, are we willing to pay the price? Are we willing to learn what we need to learn? Are we willing to train? Are we willing to put in the hard work? Are we willing to show up? And if we are, and we're doing the right things, then success is inevitable. There is no other outcome, right? But I
Well,
love that quote because I see so many people that think, you know what, I
right.
don't really need that right now. I'll wait till I need it to learn it. Smart
Oh,
people
no.
that want to win realize I'm going to learn it now because I know someday I will need it. And then when
Right.
that time comes, that's where opportunity and preparation meet. They
Exactly.
win because they're ready for that moment.
So in all of this ready for that moment, this is kind of like the secret sauce that we mentioned at the beginning of, is in doing all of that, there's a lot of focus on our own success, but what is it really? We said in the beginning, our client's experience. how do we create that experience, whether it's you and the agents or you and your clients and the agents you're working with, and how are you helping them create that experience? What is the experience?
Yeah, I think it's about talking less and listening more. I know that's pretty
Mhm.
cliche, but I think asking more questions and getting people to tell us what that means for them is just as important as telling them what we think it means. I think sometimes as salespeople, we're always thinking about what we're going to say next. And we think that everybody's happiness is this one formula that we think is happiness. But I love to ask clients questions like, okay, I've told you what I can do. Why don't you tell me what your ideal realtor is? What does the ideal realtor do every day to make you happy, to represent your property to the fullest? You know, what are some things that you've liked about past experiences and things you haven't liked about past experiences? Tell me what I need to do to give you that luxury experience. And if you do that, they'll tell you, and then you can perform. I think too often we assume that it's this one size fits all, and we get into these habits where we think we're just going to do the same thing as part of our routine. And there are some things that are routine, and there needs to be routine. But I also think we need to ask them what they need and what they want. And it could be really simple things like, how do you want me to communicate with you? Do you want me to text you? Do you want me to call you? Do you want me to email you? Do you want me to come meet with you every week? And one person may say, yeah, I don't want you to text me. I don't want you to email. I want you to come meet with me. Great. Then that's what you do. If they say, you know what, I don't want to meet with you. I just want you to call me. Or, you know what, I don't like texts. I want you to call me. If you don't ask that question, you could be communicating in the wrong way. And even though you're doing everything right and you're communicating it the wrong way, it can all be diminished by virtue of just not
You're
asking
putting
that
a lot of
really
energy.
simple question.
So on the topic of experience, now we're going to touch on something else. We talked about listings, the first listing presentations, and we talked a little bit about it before we started recording, but a client in this business list to last, everybody is looking for listings right now in most markets, yours and mine. Listings are, well, when I say yours, Salt Lake City, Utah, Park City, really hot market, same in Atlanta. Our focus is listings. Inventory is low, listings are great. You're gonna, if you list, you really last right now. And in that, in getting that listing, what is that experience we give the client to make sure we win the opportunity for the business and win the business and deliver well on it?
Well, I just finished a series called Winning the Listing
Well,
Presentation.
there we go.
And it was a 3-part series. And I broke it down into 3 parts because I just see things in threes. But it's kind of like the pre-listing presentation, the actual listing presentation, and then what do we do after we have the listing? I think for most agents, too many of us have thought in the past or still think that the listing presentation is that 1 hour time period when we're at their home. And that is old school thinking. That is not the way to look at it. The minute you start talking to somebody about listing their home, you can enter this pre-listing phase. And having a pre-listing presentation that includes samples of the work you've done, testimonials, things that differentiate you from your competitors are really important. Because what I've learned, Jerry, in this business is most consumers think that most agents and brokerages are the same. They think we're kind of just all doing the same thing. And
Mhm.
so then it just comes down to, what agent do I know? What agent's personality do I like? What brand do I kind of have an allegiance to? And I don't want them to make a decision on that. I want them to know the differences between hiring me and hiring somebody else. And
Mhm.
I want them to know the difference between the Sotheby's International Realty brand and another brand that they might choose. Because there are differences, there are major differences, and they matter a lot to the outcome for the client. And I'm just not a believer that you can do all that in an hour. I've been with Sotheby's International Realty for 13 years. I keep learning new things every single day. And I've been involved in this full time at a really high level for many years. How can a client get all of it in 1 hour in their home when we're talking about so many different things? It's just not going to happen. So we've got to spread that appointment out over a longer period of time so that we can have more opportunities to educate about what we're doing, because what we're doing is a lot. And I say this all the time. That is, if we go to all the energy and effort to market somebody's home and we're working really hard and we don't tell them that's what we're doing, then
How
did
is
it
it?
really happen?
Right.
And the answer is no, because the number one complaint I get
So true.
as an operator is what? I never hear from my agent. That's the number one complaint. I still get it all the time. I want to get it less and less, but how I never hear from my agent. And so, it kills me because usually the agent they're talking about works really hard. They come to sales meetings. They present the properties well. They're advertising the properties. They're networking. They're doing broker open houses. I mean, they are out and they are working it, but they don't take the time to communicate it. So then the client just assumes that it's not happening. And that's the whole basis of winning the listing, is what we do before is just as important as the actual presentation. And what we do after we get the listing is probably the most important of all, because they're relying on us and they want communication.
Well, what we're doing after the listing and when we actually have the client is going to get us more clients than anything we ever did or anything we're even doing for prospects. Because the current clients will just want us the prospects. We just focus on them and talk to them and deliver.
Yeah, and it's so funny because I recently saw a study that asked how many people hire the agent they used on their last transaction, and it was like 12%. And I remember thinking to myself, think about how much time our industry spends trying to find new clients, when all we really have to do is just take care of the people that we're already working with and do a great job and get into a flow, as they say in Ninja, and get into a rhythm with them, and then take care of them and communicate with them and then just keep in touch. If we did that, everything would take care of itself. But we're not good at that. We're always looking for new people because maybe we didn't do as good a job with them the first time as we could have. And that all gets back to hustle, grind, and execute, the fundamentals.
Love it. Hustle, grind, execute.
Yeah.
I forgot mine already, but be inspired, habits, and do. Just saying. The
Yeah.
love, hustle,
And
grind.
it really is all about habits, right? And that's why this market is a little terrifying, because agents will say, well, it doesn't matter what I do, listing sells so fast. What difference does it make? No, what you do today is the habits that you're going to have tomorrow. And the market will change at some point. It will get more difficult. What habits will we be in when it turns?
And to your point, people think if I just do it, to do things so with such excellence or such precision or creating habits is hard. No, what's hard is not having the precision and excellence and habits and try doing it that way. That's what's hard, especially in a market like this. How are you going to take advantage of it and sell more volume and sell more listings if you can't get your act together and get organized?
Right, right. And what are people saying about us when we're not around? This is one of the principles that I teach in all my brokerage firms is agents think their brand is like their logo, like, the little house over their name, or like a color scheme or a cool font. And they think that's their brand. The truth is that's just a logo. Your brand is what people say about you when you're not around.
Yeah.
And we should, as an industry, individually and collectively ask ourselves the question is, what are our clients saying about us when we're not there? When we're done with the job, what are they saying about us in their head or to their closest of kin? What are they saying about us? What are they saying about Sotheby's International Realty? What do they say about Jerry Metcalf? What do they say about Thomas Wright? What do they say about us? That's our brand. And when you approach it like that, it's really motivational for me, because that makes me want to raise my game and do more and do better to earn the right to have them say something positive to people when they ask, hey, why did you choose Thomas? And have them say something more than I've known him for a long time. That's a loss.
Which is
A
good.
win is I chose him because he blew me away. His marketing, his communication, his ability to expose my property, he had great negotiation skills. He was cool under pressure when things got really hard. That's what I want people saying about me. Not, oh, I hired him because I've known him for 20 years and I've used him on my last 4 deals. That's a loss, because the other person hasn't known me for 20 years and they haven't done 4 deals with me. So if that's the qualification for hiring me, then I just lost.
So what story can you tell us of, like, in this business, whether it's you or another agent? This is the last question before we do our quote final 3.
All right.
But what is, like, could you give us, whether it's yours or an agent that is in one of your offices, a huge challenge that was like, oh, this is like too much or a big deal, and what you learned, how you overcame it, or how that agent came over it, and what did they learn? How did they come out on top? That's it.
Yeah, I can think of a lot of scenarios, difficult situations over, the 13 years that, I've been running the brokerages, and there's a lot of them that come to mind. But I think the most challenging for me is people that underperform, that don't reach their potential, and they know they're not, and they're really frustrated by that. It kills me. And I don't know if I've ever said this publicly, but
Give us a story. Give us a story.
So I'll give you a perfect example.
Good.
I had an agent, and I would say this would have been in like 2007, 2008. And she was fantastic, really well connected in the community, on some nonprofit boards. People knew her. They liked her. She'd been in the ski industry, so people knew her that way. Fantastic person. And I coached her, and for 8 months, like, it just wasn't working. And she was hurt and struggling, and I was hurt by it. I felt like I was failing her. And and she said, just tell me, I don't know what to do. We've tried everything. What do I do? And I just remember how heartbroken I was, right? For somebody that really wants to be successful and they're doing what they think they need to do and it's not working, that's really hard. And so I said to her, look, you just need to go out and ask people to list their home. Just cut the BS. Just go out. I don't think you're direct enough. Just go get 6 listings. And I'll give you her name offline sometime so you can verify the story. But I said to her, you got to have 6 listings by April 1st. This was like in December. And if you don't have 6 listings that are either active or active and sold, then, that's it. We're done. Because I don't think you're being direct enough. And it was hard for me to say that. She has never had a year.
Still is, by the way. Yeah.
She hasn't had any year even close to remotely bad since then. So it was that breakthrough moment of challenging somebody in a time when they were really hurt. Like, my natural tendency was to coddle and to kind of console. And you have to do that. And I was very empathetic, sympathetic, and compassionate, but I also had to be the leader and rise to that moment and say, hey, you know what? No, I'm not going to take this failure of yours any longer. You need to go out and be more direct. Get 6 listings or we're done. And you know what? We laugh about it to this day. And we're really close friends because of it. And she's an exceptional talent. She just needed that breakthrough moment. Yeah. And that's why I do this. You asked me early, Jerry, why do I do it? That's why. Because I look at her and I think of the journey we went on, how fulfilling, how rewarding that is, and how and just how much that meant to me personally is still means a lot. It touches me even to this day.
I love that. It reminds me of a quote that actually our last guest, Tim Stout, said. He said, you can have results, or he said, you can have excuses of results, but you can't have both.
That's kind of true.
Right. I mean, that's it. Like, just do it already. Yeah. Because at the end of the day, it's just excuses. Otherwise, especially when you gave her.
We all need a swift kick in the butt, right? From time to time. And so, yeah, and that's hard to do as a leader. You got to do it in the right way. And I'm thankful for people that have done that to me. And I've been able to pass that along. And that's why I love this business.
All right, here's our final 3. And I'm sure I don't even know if I did them because you were literally like maybe the second interview on the show ever. Number 1 is, what has been your greatest, or maybe you were the first, we'll have to find out what we should have found out before today, but what has been your greatest resource in your success?
I think for me, the greatest resource is my family. I mean, if you don't have some place to recharge and somewhere to go and a safe place to share your trials and your errors and your successes and your failures, and you don't really have people that are just consistently there for you, cheering you on, that always believe in you, that always know you can succeed, I don't know how I would have made it, right? Because I've had a lot of ups and downs. The market's had ups and downs. There's been days where I wondered if I could get through certain things. And I think having a pool of people that believe in you is really important. So in my family, my extended family, my brothers, my mom, that to me is probably my greatest resource. And I go to that well, so to speak, often, and I draw from it because there's great strength in people that really know you, that really believe in you, that tell you to keep going.
Well, basically it's like, what's your foundation?
Yeah.
I'm going to quote Tyler Perry on Medea. You know Medea, or Medea the movie?
Yeah.
Right? Well, this is before Tyler Perry had the movie. Like, he was probably living out of his car.
Yeah.
And there's this scene, and it's called Let It Go. And everybody, we're going to have to like literally link this to this podcast. I hope you approve, Thomas, because she comes on and this guy's like broken up with his girlfriend or something. And Medea comes on and she starts talking about people being like leaves on a tree. And some people are like, people are like trees. Some people are like leaves. The wind changes, they're gone. Some people are like branches. You think they're there, but you lean on them and they break. And then some people are like roots. You only need 2 or 3, but no matter what, they're always there. And you can't survive without them. Family, foundation.
It is. And I think, and I know every story is different, right? That just happens to be mine. But, my wife, my kid, my brothers, my mom,
Yeah.
They are my roots, and
Yeah.
they're always there, and they've given me a lot of strength.
It's awesome. All right, book. What is the book we just have to read? It's changed your career, or it's going to change ours and our life.
Oh man, I could talk about business books. I could talk. Oh man, I do like to read. I
We'll
don't have.
limit you to 3. How about that? What are 3 books? I think I know
You know
one.
what? I love the sales books, right? And I've read them all, and I reread them, and they're inspiring. I love the E Myth. Revisited. It talks about systems and processes. That was very inspiring for me early in my career to understand. You can't duplicate something that's not a process or a system, and that has stuck with me my whole business career.
So
Uh,
repeat that on the Eden. Like, what was your big takeaway on the Eden myth?
Processes and systems that in order to scale and to grow and to be the most effective, you have to have systems and processes. It's a lot like a pilot that gets into an airplane. He has a pre-flight checklist, he or she. And they don't just get in the in the cockpit and turn the key. I don't know if there's a key, but I don't think they just turn the key and back it up and take off. There's a checklist of things, and it can take 30 to 40 minutes, and they go through that so they don't forget anything. And I'm sure some of them that have been doing it a really long time now don't need to actually look at the checklist. They can just do it. But knowing the process and the system that you want to follow instead of just winging it, I think has allowed me to scale my personal business and scale the brokerages that I operate, because you can create systems that are scalable and that are durable and that can last the test of time. They're tough. They can take a lot of hits, and you're not forgetting things. I think people really struggle when they're trying to remember everything in their head. And if you're trying to remember everything you have to do in your head and you don't have systems, then you can only help 4 or 5 people at a time, because that's all the capability our human brain has in an 8-hour day. But if you have systems, then you can double or triple or quadruple, and you'll be doing it better at the same time. So it's a win-win. It's a win for everybody. So that book really inspired me. I still think about 2 books that I love. The Count of Monte Cristo. It does something for me. Like the whole. I love that book. I mean, there's a lull in the middle of it, but it's very inspiring for me, and I do.
What inspires you about it?
I just like the redemption part of it. Somebody that's really wronged and has this deep struggle, this deep internal struggle, and his ability to find redemption inside of himself. I love that. And then another one I love is Lonesome Dove. I know that sounds crazy, but that man, I'm telling you, the character development in that book, you feel like Gus, and Blue Duck, and that story of the Western kind of Western United States and the frontier and finding new land and all the stories that go along with that. There's something really liberating. That American spirit is in me, and it's deep in me. I love this country. I love everything that she stands for. And I love that period of American history. And there's just deep character development, deep loyalty between characters, deep love, difficult situations, and people still sticking together. And then this like free, adventurous kind of Western spirit. And so I don't know. That's where I go when I want to be a little bit inspired.
All right, can I add the one more book?
Sure.
That used to do the whole. I don't even know the name of it, or maybe this is the name of it, but it's Mike Tyson's autobiography.
Yeah, I mean,
that book?
yeah, and it's no secret, I'm a Mike Tyson fan. I
Like,
get a
I
kick
read
out of
that
him. He's a
book.
great follow on Instagram, and I mean, he's a great follow if you're into that. But I always admired his just, oh man, laser focus on what he was trying to do. I mean, I remember as a younger guy watching him fight and his rise, and then every boxer hits the top, and that's that, just because of aging. But he's an inspiring story. I mean, had zero education, came from nothing, people using him. He had a ton of raw talent. He was able to channel that in the right way.
He's so quality honest too about just everything good and bad about himself. Like, it's like no holding back.
No, and he had some struggles and made some big mistakes, and had a lot of challenges, and like everybody else, trying to recover from mistakes and things that he wishes, I'm sure, he could do over. So that's an interesting American story, interesting sports story for sure. And yeah, so
that's one book I would have never read were it for you, so I couldn't not mention it. It was
I like that fighter. I'm competitive, And I do like that, not physical fighting, but just that fighting spirit. I tend to be drawn to people who are competitive, that like to win. And it's not just all about the winning, it's just the competitive spirit, right? I mean, whether I'm playing Scrabble, ping pong, or I'm trying to get a listing, or I own a brokerage, I just always been inside me that I've wanted to try to win. And I don't apologize for it. And so I admire people that have that same drive. And Mike Tyson definitely had it. He definitely had it.
So Eden Myth. What are the books? Eden Myth,
Count of Monte Cristo, and Lonesome Dove.
Lonesome Dove.
Yeah, if you want to read too, you can't just read sales books, right? You gotta venture out. You gotta give your mind a break from all this that we do. You don't want to be a 24/7, 365. Read something that inspires you. I love the Russian authors, Dostoevsky, Tolstoy. Reading Crime and Punishment or War and Peace. There is some fantastic Russian works. The situations they were put in politically and socioeconomically really made them great writers and really understand the human experience. And so I'm drawn to those too. There's real depth in their writing, and I like reading those as well.
Wow, which one's the best?
Crime and Punishment would be the easiest. War and Peace is a hard read, but it's worth it. Anna Karenina is a great book. If you want to read a good,
I'm like one book, and here I've let you've given us.
Yeah, no, there's a lot of great books to read. Yeah.
Awesome. All right, last question.
Yep.
If there is one thing we should remember from this conversation, if we're just going to forget everything else, what is it?
Focus on the fundamentals. Be good at the fundamentals. Anybody and everybody tries to throw the Hail Mary. Everybody loves the three-pointer. Be a good blocker, be a good tackler, be a good passer, be a good dribbler. You're never good enough. You always have to practice. It doesn't matter if you're an NBA star. It doesn't matter if you're a top producer. We can always be better at the fundamentals of whatever it is we're doing. Never be too good to learn new things. Never be too good to practice, and never ever think that you're at the top, because the minute you think that, you're not anymore. It's an everyday thing. It's all hands on deck. You got to wake up every day, and you got to have that day one philosophy that this is the first day I've ever done it. I'm not going to take anything for granted, and I'm going to go hustle, execute, and grind.
Awesome. Thomas, thank you. Great interview.
Yeah, thanks for having me on.
Good to see you.
Oh, it's good. You have a great podcast. I love watching the others, and thanks for having me on.
Thanks.
Thanks for listening to the Jerry Metcalf Podcast, where top real estate agents tell how they do it. If you like this episode, please share it with friends. To find more episodes, search Jerry Metcalf Podcast on any platform for podcasts, or go to jerrymetcalfpodcast.com. That's JEREMETCALF podcast.com.